Cons- Conscience is the endowment that sends our congruence or disparity with correct principles and lift us towards them when it's in shape. Just as the education of nerve and sinew, it's vital to the excellent athlete, and education of the mind is vital to the scholar. Education of the conscience is vital to the truly proactive, highly effective person. Training and education, the conscience, however, requires even greater concentration, more balanced discipline, more consistently honest living. It requires regular feasting on inspiring literature, thinking noble thoughts, and above all, living in harmony with its still small voice. Just as junk food and lack of exercise can ruin an athlete condition, those things that are obscene, crude, or pornographic can breed an inner darkness that numbs our higher sensibility and substitute the social signs of will I be found out for the natural or divine conscience of what is right and wrong. In the words of Dak Hammer's jolt, you cannot play with the animal in your without becoming wholly animal, play with falsehood without forfeiting your right to truth, play with cruelty without losing your sensitivity of mind. He who wants to keep his garden tidy doesn't reserve a plot for weeds. Once we are self aware, we must choose in purpose and principles to live by. Otherwise, the vacuum will be filled and we will lose our self awareness and become like groveling animals who live primarily for survival and propagation. People who exist on that level aren't living, they are being lived. They are reacting unaware of unique endowment that lie dormant and undeveloped within, and there is no shortcut in developing them. The law of the harvest governs. We will always reap what we sow, no more, no less. The law of justice is immutable, and the closer we align ourselves with correct principles, the better our judgment will be about how the world operates, and the more accurate our paradigms, our maps of the territory will be. I will that we grow and develop on this upward spiral. We must show diligence in the process of renewal by educating and obeying our conscience. An increasingly educated conscience will propel us along the path of personal freedom, security, wisdom, and power. Moving along the upward spiral requires us to learn, commit, and do on increasingly higher planes. We deceive ourselves if we think that any one of these is sufficient to keep progressing. We must learn, commit, and do. Learn, commit, and do, and learn, commit, and do again. Application suggestions. Number one, make a list of activities that would help you keep in good physical shape, that would fit your lifestyle, and that you could enjoy over time. Number two, select one of the activities and list it as a goal in your personal role area for the coming week. At the end of the week, evaluate your performance. If you didn't make your goal, was it because you subordinate it to genuinely higher value, or did you fail to act with integrity to your values? Number three, make a similar list of renewing activities in your spiral and mental dimensions. In social emotional area, in a relationship you would like to improve, or a specific circumstance in which public victory would bring greater effectiveness. Select one item in which area to list as a goal for the week, implement and evaluate. Point number 4, commit to write down specific sharpen the saw activities in all four dimensions every week to do them and to evaluate your performance and result. Inside out again, the lot works from inside out. The world works from the outside in. The world would take pupil out of the slum. Chris takes the slum out of the pupil, and then they take themselves out of the slum. The world would mold man by changing their environment. Chris changes man, who then changes their environment. The world would shape human behavior, but Chris can change human nature. Ezra Troff Benson. I would like to share with you a personal story which I felt contains the essence of this book. In doing so, it is my hope that you will relate to the underlying principles it contains. Some years ago, our family took a sabbatical leave from the university where I taught so that I could write. We lived for a full years in leave on the north shore of Oahu, Hawaii. Shortly after getting settled, we developed a living and working routine which was not only very productive but extremely pleasant. After an early morning run on the beach, we would send two of our children barefoot and in shorts to school. I went to an isolated building next to the cane field where I had an office to do my writing. It was very quiet, very beautiful, very serene. No phone, no meetings, no pressing engagement. My office was on the outside edge of the college, and one day, as I was wandering between a stack of books in the back of the college library, I came across a book that drew my interest. As I opened it, my eyes fell upon a single paragraph that powerfully influenced the rest of my life. I read the paragraph over and over again. It basically contained the simple idea that there is a gap or space between stimulus and response, that the key to both our growth and happiness is how we use that space. I can hardly describe the effect that idea had on my mind through I had been nurtured in the philosophy of self-determinism. The way the idea was phrased, a gap between stimulus and response, hit me with fresh, almost unbelievable force. It was almost like knowing it for the first time, like an inward revolution, an idea whose time had come. I reflected on it again and again, and it began to have a powerful effect on my paradigm of life. It was as if I had become an observer of my own participation. I began to stand in that gap and to look outside at the stimuli I revealed in the inward sense of freedom to choose any response, even to become the stimulus, or at least of influence it, even to reverse it shortly thereafter, or partially a result of this revolutionary idea, Sandra and I began to practice of deep communication. I would pick her up a little before noon on an old red Honda 90 trail cycle, and we would take our two preschool children with us, our one between us and the other on my left knee, as we rode out in the canfield by my office. We rode slowly along for about an hour, just talking. The children looked forward to the ride and hardly ever made any noise. We seldom saw another vehicle, and the cycle was so quietly we could easily hear each other. We usually end up on an isolated beach where we park the Honda and walk about 200 yards to a secluded spot where we ate a picnic lunch. The sandy beach and a freshwater river coming off the island totally observed the interests of the children, so Sandra and I were able to continue our walk uninterrupted. Perhaps it doesn't take too much imagination to envision the level of understanding, the trust we were able to reach by spending at least 2 hours a day every day for a full year in deep communication.